Hey, podcast family. Thank you for joining us for another week of Chasing Greatness. It is finally here, the last week of the first half of 2021. And we've been looking these last few weeks at this idea of resetting these halftime adjustments we're making as we get ready to go into really the end of what's going to be the best year you've ever had if you really think through what you're trying to do and how you're doing it. Some of those questions we've given you the last few weeks. So, man, you're helping our audience to grow. We've been getting lots of great comments and all kind of emails and things. If you've not had a chance to reach out to us, love to hear from you. If you've got questions that we can address on the show, we'd love to do that. That'd be awesome. We love interacting with you. Last couple of weeks, I gave you some questions in our first week of what we're calling this little series, the Reset. Today will be our last one, but a couple of weeks ago, I gave you 6 questions. I asked you what was working, what's not working, what's missing, gave you a chance to identify some of those. Hopefully you had a chance to work through those questions. If you haven't, you didn't maybe get to hear the episode, I encourage you to go back and listen to that. Thanks so much for subscribing, hitting those thumbs up buttons, and on YouTube, all those places that you're watching video or even on the podcast downloads. Thank you for the comments there. It's really cool to see those things as they continue to grow as well. Week 2, that was last week. Gave you the little 4 box, and we got a chance to work through some of that stuff. So today, I want us to have a third way to think about resetting to help us think about this concept this week, this idea of these halftime adjustments. I want to borrow a verse from the Bible. It's a verse that actually is about Jesus, and it talks about 4 areas of his life where he grew. He was a young teenager at the time, maybe 12, 13 years old when this verse is written about him. It says that Jesus grew in wisdom, stature, favor with God, and favor with man. This verse is found in Luke chapter 2, verse 52. Again, Jesus grew in wisdom, stature, favor with God, and favor with man. So it made me start thinking, how am I doing in these areas of my life that really are important to me? Hopefully you have some areas in your life that are important to you. So I wrote out 4 of them. I think they'll help us as we think about these. They're similar to these areas where Jesus grew. They're actually kind of the same. I want to say them a little bit differently than what the Bible does, but I think they'll help us as we think about them. So the first one I want to start with is how are we doing relationally? In fact, you might even we'll do this for you. We'll draw a sort of a bullseye target on the screen here. Check that out, and you might just want to make a note on the outside relationally. We'll put that in the outside circle. How are you doing relationally right now? We've talked about it a little bit the last couple of weeks, but are the people around your life right now helping you get to where you want to go this year? Do you have the right team in place? Do you have the right relationships going on at home? Do you have the right trainer? I mean, who do you need around your life that is going to help you, a coach that is going to help you get to a place of high performance? So it's going to help you ultimately chase greatness if you think about it. And so those people around our lives, sometimes we neglect that. So how are you doing relationally? Or you might ask yourself, how am I doing socially? You don't have to live in isolation right now. The last year or so, we've had this pandemic going on, and I hear people talk about all the time social distancing. And I think there's a difference in being physically distant, which is important if you got some kind of disease going, virus, germs being spread. It's important to not be in proximity to people, but you socially distant, I think that's a choice. I don't think the best leaders, I really don't think they spend very much time socially distanced. They understand that the people around their lives are very important to them. And it's important for you to have some people around your life that are breathing life into you, that are giving energy to you. And you have some people that you're putting energy into. And so I want you to think about that for a second. When's the last time you had dinner with somebody in a social setting? When's the last time you had a chance to hang out with somebody, maybe recreationally? You got a round of golf in, or you got to go do some shopping, or you got to hang out with somebody, play some cards, or whatever it is you like to do in your free time. When's the last time you got with some people that put life into you, and you breathe some life into them, and you just hung out with some people? It's incredible how we get going so high speed, we forget the importance of the relationships we have around our lives and how much life they can put into us. And so if you need to do a little inventory on that right now, I encourage you to do so. If there's somebody you need to reach out to, maybe a phone call, maybe a text message you send to them. Maybe you need to invite somebody for lunch or breakfast, one of those meals we talked about. It's important for us to make sure that we've got relationally some things going on. So as you look back over the last 6 months, let's do some evaluating today. What's the reality of your relationships? Are they helping you get to where you want to go, or are your relationships right now, they kind of hindering you? Are they pulling you down? Are they keeping you from where you need to be? Most of us, when our relationships are not going well, it's because we've not put time into them. I remember as a kid, my mom always said, if you want to have a friend, you got to be a friend. And so for some of us, that's real good advice to think through. Like we're feeling like we don't have those relationships around us like we really would like. Maybe it's because we've not done what we need to breathe life into others. And as we begin to do that, that could be big. So Jesus grew in favor with man. That means he had his relationships all buttoned up. I want to make sure that that's one of the areas of my life relationally I'm thinking about as I'm going into the back half of this year. I've got to make sure I've got the right people around me. I got people around me who need me. I got people who can give me what I need. And those relationships are at a strong place. So this week, I didn't want us to go into the second half without giving some thought to our relationships. Well, here's another one. Let's think about our lives physically when it comes to resetting right now. So Jesus, it says, grew in stature. That means he physically was taking care of himself and he was doing the right things. And so here's my question for you. What are you doing to take care of yourself physically as you think about the second half of the year? Let's back it up. How have you done in the first half of the year? Are you taking care of yourself the way you need to? We ask the question sometimes, are you fit to lead? Are you leading yourself well when it comes to your physical fitness? And so lots of areas we could talk about here. I want to mention a couple of them. The first one, obviously, is I say obviously, it might be one you've not thought enough about, but it's the idea of rest. Have you been getting enough rest? How much out are you sleeping? Do you find yourself tired? Do you find your energy waning and it's low and you just don't feel like you have the energy that maybe you used to have? And it's easy to sit back and say, well, I'm getting older, my energy is going to be lower. Actually, your energy is going to be tied not as much to your age as it is to your nutrition, to your sleep, to some of those things, your exercise. We'll talk about those in a second. But are you resting enough? Do you have a comfortable bed that you sleep in? Do you have a nice, cool room that you're sleeping in every night? I mean, there's all kind of sleep studies and things out that will show you can improve the quality of your sleep with a good mattress and pillow and all those kind of things. So I need you to think about that. Like, how are you doing? Has the first half of the year been a restful half of the year when it comes to your sleep? Or do you feel like you're tired, you're fatigued, you're worn out, you're worn down? If you are, or those things describe you, you're going to find that the people around your life are going to suffer because of your fatigue. You're going to actually not lead as well if you're not really leading yourself well and resting well. And so that'd be a good one to think about. Here's another one. It is exercise. Are you moving? Are you moving like you need to be moving? Do you walk? Do you have some cardio built in? Do you have some weight training, some stretching? There's all kinds of things we can do for exercise, but do you have a process or a program, whatever it is you use? You have something that you're committed to. You have discipline to get up and show up for your workouts, do the things you're supposed to do. Or are you just kind of hoping you get some exercise, or maybe I'll have time for that? Here's the reality. You're not going to get any more time. You're going to have to make time for the things that are really important to you. So exercise should be one of those. If you really want to be fit to lead, if you want to feel well, if you want to have great energy, it's important for you to make sure that you are moving like you need to be. And so some of us, we may be sitting around and we're kind of not doing the things we should. It's no wonder we're not feeling the way that we want to feel. And so we have total control over how much we move. What do you need to do to make sure that you move more in the second half of the year and not just, coast through and lie around on the couch? That's not going to get you where you want to go. Another one, obviously, when it comes to physical fitness, is your nutrition. Are you eating the things that you should be eating? Do you have lots of sugar in your diet and, all kind of things that are not healthy for you? You don't drink your calories. There's all kind of things you can do. Are you hydrating? Speaking of drinking your calories or not drinking your calories, are you drinking enough water, hydrating your body? Your body is just going to thrive if you will give it the water it needs. I think the recommendation is maybe 1 ounce of water for every couple of pounds that you weigh. So, I'm around 180 pounds. I actually try and drink 100 ounces of water a day. I want to make sure I drink more than that. And so as you think about your life, A, do you know how much you weigh? And then secondly, do you know how many ounces of water you should be drinking? And then are you drinking what you should be? Are you hydrating the way you should? Again, we're halfway through the year. It's kind of a different episode, but if we're going to chase greatness, one of the things we're going to have to do, we're going to be physically fit. And so we're going to rest. We got to move. We got to eat what we need to. I heard somebody say one time, we want to make sure that we eat to live. We don't live to eat. And so that's kind of cliche. But there's a lot of truth to that. I mean, are you eating too much? If so, maybe need to cut back on those portions as we go into the second half. Need to cut down on some of those sugars, some of those things that are not great for us. And again, it just comes back to choices. And so we want to grow relationally. We want to reset relationally. We want to reset physically. And then I want us to think a little bit about resetting mentally. I'm hearing everywhere I go, I'm hearing all kinds of stuff about mental health and challenges that are going on right now. And it does say that Jesus grew in wisdom. And as I think about that, I'm just thinking about mentally. What does it mean to grow myself mentally or intellectually, or as I'm thinking about the way I think, that is so important for me to give some thought to that and not just hope that I'm mentally and even if you want to say emotionally healthy. I think emotionally might be tied to the last one we'll talk about as well. But I want to make sure that I'm mentally fit. And so what are some things that I can do there? And like, how am I doing there as I look back? One of the things I like to do is I like to read. I like to make sure I'm with life-giving relationships around me. I've got people that are going to encourage me. I've got some things, some processes that are built into my life that are going to help keep me sharp. There's some things that I like to do. So how about you? What are the things what are the practices? What are the books you'd like to read, the places you like to go, the people you like to hang out with that are actually stimulating to you mentally and emotionally? They're helping you be in a healthy place there. If you're struggling with maybe some depression or some of those kind of things, maybe there's some things that you could do to improve that. One of the things that I would suggest is you make sure that you make gratitude a part of every day. Again, this might tie into the last area we look at, but I think mentally sometimes and emotionally, gratitude can be huge for us. It's giving some time to think through the things that I'm grateful for, the things that are life-giving to me and the people and the relationships around my life, just the blessings that I have. When I begin to think about those things, it actually makes me more positive. It makes me just in a better frame of mind, and you're no different. Studies show that when we have gratitude, that we're going to be more mentally and emotionally healthy. And I know we're in a time where a lot of people are struggling with mental health things, but I think sometimes we don't do the things that we can do. We dwell so much on our circumstances, and then all of a sudden we live in despair if we're not careful. And so I want you to think about what is good in your life and what is around you that can help you. And so, again, maybe it's time for you to take a relational, a physical, and maybe even more importantly, a mental reset. It's time for you to think differently as you go into the back half of the year. And then I'd be remiss if I didn't mention this last one. In fact, I think it may be the core of everything. So we'll put it kind of as our bullseye, or I'll make it my bullseye. And I'm gonna ask myself, how am I doing spiritually? How am I doing? It says Jesus grew in favor with God. So he was obviously connected to God incredibly. And so I want to ask myself, how's my soul doing? And again, I said before, my emotions may be tied up in this one, but how am I doing at a heart level? How am I doing at a soul level? How am I doing spiritually or emotionally, if you want to think of it that way? I'm not sure where you are in your faith or whatever, but I can tell you this: God loves you, and He's got something really great for you. And the fact that you're here, you have life. I mean, there's just so much there, again, to be grateful for. But how am I doing spiritually? And for some of us, this is a really important part of our lives, and it is for me. And so there's some things that I can do, some practices I can have that will help me grow spiritually, if I think about it that way. And the same thing is true for you. And so what are some of those practices? Well, for centuries, people have done spiritual reading, like, read the Bible. I like to do that every morning. You can pray prayers. You pray prayers for yourself. Obviously, you'll probably do that, but I encourage you to pray prayers for other people. You can serve people. I mean, you honestly think about it. You can use your life to serve others, or if we talk about chasing greatness, use your life to help other people be great. Man, it brings so much joy to your life when you do that. You can walk in humility. That's another good spiritual practice, to understand that I say it this way, and I've heard people say it this way for a long time, there is a God and I'm not him. I mean, I think sometimes we try to be self-sufficient and do all those kind of things. You know what? I'm not in charge of the universe, and I don't need to be. I don't really want to be. I'm grateful to know that there is a God who's in charge. I don't have to be. And so as you think about your life, I hope you've got some places where you really have complete trust that you don't have to be in charge of everything, that really God has his hand on your life. You may feel like, man, I'm really far from God, Randy. That's, nobody ever talks about God on their podcast, but I'm here to tell you, God loves you, and he's really got something great for you. And so don't miss out on that. So again, as we think about our lives, it's not just one area of your life, your work or your family or your business or whatever you got going on. There are these concentric circles that we've drawn out here for you. And I want to encourage you to think about resetting, or not just think about it, to actually reset in these 4 areas. As you look back over the first part of your year, if there have been some relational gaps, now's the time to make those adjustments. Let's go into the back half of the year. Be a better friend. Have people around you that are bringing you life. Find some people that you can bring life to. Help somebody else be great. Secondly, I want to ask you, if this first half of the year, you've got some areas where physically you've not done what you should, you've not taken care of yourself, you've not eaten right, you've not exercised, maybe you haven't been resting well. Now's the time to make some adjustments. Perfect time of year. Next week starts, July 1st will be here, and you can just really crank on it as we go into the second half of the year. Physically, make sure that you're at a place where you're chasing greatness physically. Then the mental side, if you've got some places where you've got some, you'd say mentally, or maybe you've just kind of been coasting mentally, you've not, or emotionally even, you've really not been trying to learn and grow the first half of the year like you should. Man, let's double down on personal growth and development and in the back half of the year, and help somebody else grow, help somebody else be emotionally and mentally encouraged. And then finally, don't neglect your spiritual life. Your soul really it matters. And I got a friend who says, don't write checks with your mouth that your soul can't cash. I think the reason your soul can cash what you're saying, the way you live out, your values and you walk in humility, those kind of things, it comes from having a healthy soul and having times of solitude, having times where you're quiet, having times where you're rooted in your values, in your beliefs. So important. So let's make sure that we reset going into the second half of the year. It's almost halftime. You have a chance to recalibrate, do some things differently. Again, we're here to help you on that journey. If there's things we can do specifically to help you, please don't hesitate to reach out. I do want to mention again that we have a course that we created early in the year, 21 Days to Your Best Year Ever. And we could rename it right now, 21 Days to Reset for the Second Half. This framework that we created is just fantastic. And so if you don't have a way to think about your life and process that stuff, I encourage you to get this course. I think it's half price right now. You can get all that stuff at randygravitt.com. We'd love to help you out with that any way we can these next few weeks. So encourage you to check out the course. Please also help us spread the word. If you know somebody today who needs to be encouraged, maybe they've just been struggling the first half of the year, the last few weeks even, send a link to this to them and encourage them and just say, hey, I'm thinking about you. I want to encourage you. Listen to this podcast and let's talk about it. You got a chance to help some other people. Let's keep chasing greatness. We'll only do that if we get really serious, relationally, physically, mentally, and most importantly, maybe spiritually. So you do that. Let's have a great second half of the year. And in the meantime, keep chasing greatness.